So today I want to talk about FileMaker 17 test results, but I will also talk a little bit about things that I and my team recently discovered working on real projects for our customers. And I have also grown the number of tests I have run a little bit. If you have a database with a long text in a field with a lot of data, then the speed of modifying that and storing the data is significantly worse, even more in 17 than it was in 16. So what remains a fact is that when you run a task on a server as a server-side script, you have to think about the fact that the server actually runs a client, because the server-side script is a client that connects to the database. So when you have a task running over a local network from a client to server, there are things that the client does and there are things that the server does. For instance, updating the cache and updating indexes. When you do it in a server-side script, there are certain things that happen twice on the same machine. Let me move forward to the recent discoveries. One of the things that is depending on the file database structure is a step that Clay explained as creating master map of table occurrences. In our case, when we were working on our solution, FileMaker Pro asked server, give me the database structure. Then it worked 6 seconds on the client side to build the structures in memory, the master map of table occurrences. By splitting the graph to smaller table occurrence groups, we achieved the simple structure, and those 6 seconds got cut down to just 2. The next thing I want to talk about is an insanely slow set field. The set field script steps were taking the most time. This is something that was in the relationship graph. Just removing 32 relationships cut the time down from 30 seconds to about a little bit over 1 second. Just removing those 30 relationships was that key moment. I discussed this with Clay Michael at DEF CON, and I actually gave him a copy of the test files. And I got lucky in getting more insight from him. When you do a set field, there is a structure. In addition to the master map of table occurrences, there is another structure which is stored for every single field, and that's field dependencies. This is what FileMaker is checking every time you do a set field, and it's doing it for the purpose of properly updating other windows you have open if you change a field that affects a relationship. The next topic I want to talk about is impact of slow network. What makes FileMaker unique, and we all love it about FileMaker, when you make a change, that the change immediately appears on the screen of every user who has the solution open. But this comes with a cost. When you make a change and commit the change to a FileMaker server, server updates its own cache, then flushes the cache to the disk, and at the same time adds notification to a list of notifications the clients are supposed to be informed about. What FileMaker Pro or Advanced or the client does with the notification is that it looks if it has any of those modified or deleted records in the cache, and if it does, it removes them from the cache. When you slow the network down enough and you set the topcode statistics to trigger every 1 second, you get 25 calls per second logged in the topcode statistics. And if the connection is so bad that FileMaker cannot send more than 25 calls to the server per second, then you get everything in the top call stats. When you commit a change in relationship graph, every client who has that file open will have to refresh the master map of table occurrences. Another big topic with performance is layout rendering. This was for a company doing creating concrete material blocks and needed a solution for resource planning. In the first version, it was taking I think about 12 seconds or 10 seconds after clicking on the field to be able to click on another one. We discovered that there is one more thing that is very useful, and that's the on-timer script trigger. So in the end of the script, we activated an on-timer script trigger to run as soon as possible, and in that script trigger we collected another benchmark point. And the point is that on-timer script trigger only runs in idle time. So by scheduling the script trigger to run as soon as possible, we were able to measure how long from the end of our script it takes FileMaker to actually render everything, calculate everything on the layout, and finish its work. So when we removed the conditional formattings, we saved about half of the time. But there was one more thing. Button bars on the layout with 31 buttons each were causing another delay, and that was the rest of the problem. We were looking for a way how to optimize it. So for the button bar, we tried repeating field, and one of the disadvantages of conditional formatting is that all the calculations you put there always get calculated, even though you only care about the first one. We created a text field with a solid block in it as a character, repeated twice, I think, and we just changed the color of that solid block by calculation. Conditional formattings, even for a small change, were recalculated for the whole layout, but color of the text in a field gets only recalculated for the record which you change. The last thing I wanted to touch a little bit is new to FileMaker 17, although it was as a beta version in FileMaker 16 already, and that's the data API. With PHP API, when we got to 10,000 records, it simply stopped working. When I try to fetch records from the server, but the most interesting thing is when you want to get more than 10,000 records in a single call. Again, PHP API fails completely. With Data API, it still works, and as you can see, it's quite fast. You can get 50,000 records on that old Mac Pro within about 10 seconds. That's all for now. I would like to thank you for watching this video to the end, and because I value your time you have spent watching it, let me give you 30 minutes of my time in return. Just use this link and schedule one free 30-minute consultation. I look forward to talking to you.